This week's video is on happiness, and I have a different take on happiness. Because I have it that happiness wears different masks. There are those who constantly grumble about everything, and then there are those who keep their struggles to themselves, saying very little. You'll find those who overdo it with an always upbeat front, while others don't even bother to pretend, trudging through their days like they're just going through the motions. But here's the kicker. Many people who are really down in the dumps don't even recognize their own unhappiness. It's become their standard operating mode, so much so that for them it kind of feels normal. Yet it's precisely these patterns of behavior that can be telltale signs of a deeper disconnect which is lurking beneath the surface. So for too many years now, finding happiness has become an invisible endeavor for many. And the ironic thing is that in chasing happiness, people are becoming more and more unhappy. So why is this? Now, I have it because the pursuit of happiness often leads these people to fixate on external measures and superficial sources of joy. This external focus, whether in the form of mental or not mental, material possessions, comparison with others, or impulsive distractions, what it does is tend to be fleeting and does not contribute to lasting fulfillment. It's fulfillment that we want to try to chase. Now, don't be confused with me saying that happiness does not exist, because of course it does. We find happiness in simple things like a sunrise, a sunset, or a baby laughing, finding $100 which you stashed in one of your old jacket pockets many years ago. So my point here is that this happiness is found in the simple things. If you're out there living in society, navigating through its difficulties, the breakdowns and the interruptions which come when you're participating in life, in your job, in your business, in your family, or almost every other facet where shit is going to happen, well, you know what? It's part of life. Happiness as a fuel simply is not enough. So learning to embrace all these crappy experiences and learning from them will put a person way above the simpleness of happiness. So if the shallowness of happiness is the simple goal for you, let me exaggeratingly, don't like that word, be radical for a moment. Because I have it that to really attain this happiness, this simpleness, you have to leave society. Go and leave people and live isolated from anything which could offer you the experience of the opposite. So you don't have to really learn to deal with it, and you can stay happy and simple. So I believe there's a common misconception that happiness exists in the absence of other emotions. So creating an unrealistic standard of perpetual positivity, leading people to ignore and suppress things like sadness, regret, pain, all of these things, because each feeling, whether positive or challenging, what it does is contribute to a deeper understanding of oneself and the richness of this human experience we're living. It's important to recognize that happiness is just one part, and by allowing ourselves to feel and navigate the array of all these other emotions, we gain a more authentic and complete sense of fulfillment. So it's not about avoiding discomfort, but learning from it and appreciating the diversity of emotions which make our lives more meaningful and more fulfilling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline 7 common behaviors which I've seen in unhappy people. I could give you 700, 7,000, but I'm making these videos too long and I want to keep it short. So what I'm going to do after that is then offer what the opposite looks like, really simple. And then I'm going to give a brief strategy for making the transition to a more fulfilling and content state. So let's get into it. Number 1, we have jealousy-driven criticism. So this is one for the resentful people out there. The ones who see a beautiful luxury car drive past and say something like, must be good to have daddy's money, or must be compensating for a small ding-a-ling. Or the one which I've heard way too many times, what a rich whacker. So envy and jealousy are simply a reflection of the insecurity of the person. And too many people are quick to criticize and judge rather than be curious and inquisitive. because it's here where the gossipers live. And I often say that gossip is the currency of the poor. So what's the opposite look like of jealousy-driven criticism? The opposite to this is to be inspired by others' success and focus on personal growth. Simple, yeah? Transition, how can you do this? Imagine going up to this person driving the car and saying, you know what, mate? That's a really cool car. If you could offer 3 pieces of advice or tell me 3 of your biggest learnings in life, what would they be? And you know what? It takes a combination of humbleness and courage to do this. How do I know? Because I've done it dozens of times. What a jealous person doesn't realize is that a person who has become successful wants other people to be successful. They love sharing their stories and their advice and their time to those who are genuinely interested. So transform envy into motivation and inquire to acquire. Admire the success of others and use it as your own inspiration to pursue your own goals. Because by learning to learn from others and making personal development a habit and having aligned goals, it's going to replace envy and turn this resentment into a clean fuel to propel you into a different way of interpreting things. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 is the cycle of overcompensation or overexertion.